Government shutdown odds go up after party leaders exchange fire. Top EU diplomat Kaja Kallas unveiled plans on Wednesday to downgrade trade ties with Israel and sanction top officials over findings of human rights abuses in Gaza, marking a major shift in the bloc's approach to the Middle Eastern nation. The planned measures, which must still be approved by member countries, aim to impose tariffs on some €5.8 billion of imported goods from Israel while sanctioning two hard-line members of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government, National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir, and Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich. The options put forward by the European Commission are more limited than those sought by some EU countries and officials. UN Commission says Israel is committing genocide in Gaza. An independent United Nations inquiry has concluded for the first time that Israel has committed genocide against Palestinians in Gaza and that the country's top leaders have incited genocide, in what it described as the most authoritative finding to date. In a 72-page report released on Tuesday, the Commission, which was set up by the UN Human Rights Council, HRC, found that Israel has committed 4 genocidal acts in the enclave since October 7, 2023, when Hamas carried out deadly attacks on Israel and Israel launched its military campaign. These acts include the killing of Palestinians in Gaza, causing Palestinians serious bodily and mental harm, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction, in whole or in part, and imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group, according to the report. UK inflation holds at high level ahead of Bank of England meeting. UK annual inflation stayed at an elevated level in August, likely keeping the Bank of England on wait-and-see mode as it prepares to hold its key interest rate this week. Consumer prices were 3.8% higher than the same month of last year, matching Jully's rate, the Office for National Statistics said Wednesday. Economists polled by the Wall Street Journal expected a slightly higher 3.9% annual rise. However, inflation remains stubbornly higher in Britain than in the neighboring Eurozone, where prices were 2.1% up on August of last year. Inflation has jumped from 1.7% in September 2024. Japan's exports down in August as automakers grapple with U.S. tariffs. Japan's trade deficit narrowed significantly in August 2025, falling to 242.5 billion Japanese yen, from 711.4 billion Japanese yen, a year earlier. This result was much better than the market's expectation of a 513.6 billion Japanese yen deficit, a positive development largely driven by a sharp drop in imports. While Japan's exports declined for the 4th straight month, the 0.1% year-on-year drop was the smallest in the sequence, and better than the expected 1.9% fall. This provided some relief, as the negative impact from U.S. tariffs on Japanese goods appears to be easing. Imports, on the other hand, shrank by a more significant 5.2%, reaching a 6-month low. This marked the second consecutive monthly decline in imports and highlighted sluggish domestic demand and elevated costs, even with government measures to boost consumption and stabilize energy prices. U.S. sanctions Iranian oil network tied to IRGC and Modaful. The U.S. Treasury Department has announced new sanctions targeting an Iranian financial network. This network is accused of supporting Iran's military, specifically entities linked to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, and the Ministry of Defense and Armed Force Logistics, Modaful. These sanctions are part of a broader effort to curb Iran's military and its regional activities, particularly focusing on financial transactions involving cryptocurrency transfers from Iranian oil sales. The U.S. aims to disrupt the flow of funds to these organizations, escalating economic pressure on Iran and its defense capabilities. Government shutdown odds go up after party leaders exchange fire. The odds of a government shutdown are rising after Democratic leaders on Tuesday swiftly rejected a 91-page stopgap funding proposal unveiled by Speaker Mike Johnson, RLA, and fellow House Republicans because it was put together with little Democratic input and doesn't extend generous health care subsidies under the Affordable Care Act, ACA. Democrats voted more than a dozen times to extend federal funding with short-term, clean, continuing resolutions, CRs, when former President Biden was president, and they controlled the Senate, but now they're drawing a hard line on what ordinarily would be a non-controversial funding proposal.
Tech bosses say massive investment will make UK AI superpower. Major US tech firms have pledged tens of billions of pounds worth of investment in the UK, with the boss of the world's leading chipmaker, Nvidia, predicting it will make the country an AI superpower. The biggest single investment comes from Microsoft, which has announced a $30 billion, £22 billion spending package, its largest ever outside the US. It is part of a £31 billion agreement, dubbed the Tech Prosperity Deal, between the UK government and several US tech giants as part of President Donald Trump's second state visit to the UK. The deal will see Google, Nvidia and others invest in British-based infrastructure including data centers as well as the creation of a new supercomputer in Essex. Microsoft raises quarterly dividend by 9.6%. Microsoft's pattern of increasing its dividend in September continued as the company raised its quarterly payout 9.6% to 91 cents a share, from 83 cents. The new dividend, equal to $3.64 annually, represents a yield of 0.7% based on Monday's closing price of $515.36 a share. The stock was recently at $515.29 after hours. The dividend is payable December the 11th to shareholders of record on November the 20th. Last September, the company raised its payout to 83 cents a share from 75 cents. Microsoft also said it would hold its shareholder meeting December the 5th. The longtime technology giant has been active in artificial intelligence. Last week, Microsoft and OpenAI said they agreed to extend their partnership. Microsoft's Copilot chatbot is a competitor to OpenAI's Claude and Gemini, the AI offering from Alphabet's Google. China orders firms to stop buying Nvidia AI chip, FT says. Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang commented after a Financial Times report that China has banned the use of the company's AI chips. The Trump administration in August agreed a deal under which Nvidia would receive export licenses for its H20 AI chips in exchange for 15% of its China sales. However, the FT reported Wednesday that China has urged its domestic tech firms not to use Nvidia's AI chips. NASA, Northrop Grumman assessing Cygnus XL engine burn plan. NASA and Northrop Grumman are delaying the arrival of the Cygnus XL to the International Space Station as flight controllers evaluate an alternate burn plan for the resupply spacecraft. The Cygnus XL will not arrive to the space station on Wednesday, September the 17th, as originally planned, with a new arrival date and time under review. Early Tuesday morning, Cygnus XL's main engine stopped earlier than planned during two burns designed to raise the orbit of the spacecraft for rendezvous with the space station, where it will deliver 11,000 pounds of scientific investigations and cargo to the orbiting laboratory for NASA. All other Cygnus XL systems are performing normally. NASA astronaut Johnny Kim is scheduled to capture Cygnus XL using the station's Canadarm-to-robotic arm, with backup support from NASA astronaut Zena Cardman. After capture, the spacecraft will be installed on the Unity module's Earth-facing port, and will remain at the space station until March 2026. For arrested after photos of Trump and Epstein projected onto Windsor Castle during President's UK visit. Police in the UK arrested 4 people after photos of President Donald Trump and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein were projected onto Windsor Castle on Tuesday night. The projections included photos of Trump and Epstein, of the two, joined by First Lady Melania Trump with Epstein and his co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell, and of a lewd birthday message Trump allegedly sent Epstein in 2003 for a 50th birthday book.